Honey, let me tell you how I came home early from a 3-week business trip and found a strange woman in my kitchen, making breakfast with my dishes. A woman wearing my bathrobe in my house, cooking breakfast for my husband. And worse than that, I saw 2 little kids playing in my living room. Kids I'd never seen before in my life. That moment when I realized my husband had been living a double life for 22 years. 2 separate families. 2 completely different lives. And me, I was just one half of his lie. But honey, if you think this story is about my broken heart, you're wrong. This story is about how I, Eve, a 62-year-old woman, taught that man a lesson so hard he wished he'd never met me. And when I was done with him, he was left with nothing. And me? I walked away with everything. Now sit back and get comfortable, because this is going to be a ride you won't forget. Part 1. The Perfect Marriage. Let me start by telling you about my marriage. 35 years. 35 years with a man named Harold. Harold Jefferson. When we met, I was 27 years old, working as an executive assistant at a law firm. He was 32, a sales manager at a pharmaceutical company. Handsome, charming, ambitious, everything a young woman could want. Our courtship was a whirlwind. 6 months of dating, then he proposed. Got down on one knee at a fancy restaurant, pulled out a ring that probably cost him 3 months' salary. I said yes without hesitation. I was in love. Head over heels, can't eat, can't sleep, write his name in my diary kind of love. We got married in a small ceremony. My family, his family, close friends. Nothing extravagant, but beautiful. I wore my mama's wedding dress, altered to fit me. Harold wore a sharp navy suit. We danced to Marvin Gaye. It was perfect. The first few years were good. Really good. We bought a house in the suburbs. A cute little 3-bedroom with a backyard and a white picket fence. Harold was climbing the corporate ladder, making good money. I was still working, contributing to our joint account, building our life together. We tried to have children. Lord, did we try. But it never happened. After 5 years of trying, doctors, tests, procedures, we finally accepted that children weren't in our cards. It hurt. It hurt both of us. But we told ourselves we had each other, and that was enough. Harold threw himself into his work, started traveling more. Sales conferences, client meetings, regional training sessions. Sometimes he'd be gone for a week at a time. I understood. That's what ambitious men do. That's what it takes to get ahead. I focused on my career too. Eventually worked my way up to office manager, then director of operations. Good salary, good benefits, good life. Harold and I were comfortable. We took vacations twice a year. Had a nice car. Renovated the house. From the outside, we looked like the perfect couple. And I thought we were. I genuinely thought we were happy. Harold was attentive when he was home, brought me flowers, took me to dinner, remembered anniversaries and birthdays. We had our routines. Sunday morning breakfast together, Friday night movies on the couch, Wednesday evening walks around the neighborhood. Sure, he traveled a lot, but that was his job. I never questioned it. Why would I? I trusted him. After 20, 25, 30 years of marriage, you trust your husband. You don't suspect. You don't doubt. Looking back now, I can see the signs. The pieces that didn't quite fit. But when you trust someone completely, you don't look for puzzle pieces. You just accept the picture they show you. Part 2. The business trip. 3 months ago, my company sent me on a business trip. We were opening a new office in Seattle, and they wanted me there to set up operations, train the new staff, get everything running smoothly. It was supposed to be a 3-week assignment. Harold wasn't thrilled. 3 weeks is a long time, baby, he said. I'm going to miss you. I'll miss you too, I told him. But it's good money, and it's only 3 weeks. We've been apart longer when you travel. He couldn't argue with that. He'd been on month-long trips before. I left on a Monday morning. Harold drove me to the airport, kissed me goodbye, told me to call him every day. I promised I would. Seattle was beautiful. Rainy, but beautiful. The work was intense. Long days, lots of training, lots of problem solving. But I enjoyed it. It felt good to be needed, to use my skills, to build something new. I called Harold every evening. Just like I promised. Told him about my day, asked about his. The conversations were normal, comfortable. Nothing seemed off. How's work? I'd ask. Same old, same old. Missing you, though. House feels empty without you. Only 2 more weeks, baby. Then I'll be home. By the end of the 2nd week, I was exhausted but proud. The new office was running smoothly. The staff was well trained. Everything was ahead of schedule. My supervisor called me into her office on Friday afternoon. Eve, you've done an incredible job here. Better than we expected. I think we can wrap this up early. Why don't you head home next week instead of staying the full 3 weeks? I was thrilled. Really? That would be amazing. You've earned it. Take Monday and Tuesday to finish up loose ends. Then fly home Wednesday. Surprise your husband. Surprise my husband. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to do. I didn't call Harold to tell him. I wanted it to be a surprise. I pictured walking through the door, seeing his face light up, spending a romantic evening together. Maybe I'd pick up some nice wine, cook his favorite meal. It would be perfect. I booked a flight for Wednesday morning, got up early, packed my bags, took a cab to the airport. The flight was smooth. I dozed a little, dreaming about being home in my own bed. I landed at noon, took another cab from the airport straight to our house. The house we'd lived in for 33 years. The house where we'd built our life together. The cab pulled up to the curb. I paid the driver, grabbed my suitcase, and walked up the front path. Harold's car was in the driveway. That surprised me a little. He should have been at work. But I figured maybe he'd taken the day off. Maybe he wasn't feeling well. I put my key in the lock and opened the door. And that's when my life changed forever. Part 3. The discovery. The house smelled different. That was the first thing I noticed. Not bad, just different. Like someone else's perfume, someone else's cooking, someone else's life. I could hear voices from the kitchen. Children's voices, laughing, playing. Children? In my house? I set my suitcase down quietly and walked toward the kitchen. My heart was pounding. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. I turned the corner and froze. There was a woman standing at my stove. A woman I'd never seen before. She was younger than me, maybe late 30s, early 40s. Pretty, She was wearing a bathrobe. My bathrobe. The pink one Harold had given me for Christmas 3 years ago. She was making pancakes, using my griddle, my spatula, my dishes. And sitting at my kitchen table were 2 children. A boy who looked about 8 years old and a girl who looked about 6. They were eating cereal from my bowls, drinking juice from my glasses. The woman was humming, happy, comfortable, like she belonged there. I must have made a sound because she turned around. When she saw me, the color drained from her face. "Who are you?" she asked. Her voice was shaky. "Who am I?" I felt like I was in a dream, a nightmare. "Who are you? What are you doing in my house?" The children stopped eating, stared at me with wide eyes. "Your house?" The woman looked confused. Then something shifted in her expression. Realization. Horror. "Oh my God, you're Eve. How do you know my name? What is going on here?" Before she could answer, I heard footsteps on the stairs. Heavy footsteps. Harold's footsteps. He walked into the kitchen wearing his pajamas. His reading glasses were perched on his nose. He was holding a newspaper. He looked relaxed, comfortable, home. Then he saw me. The newspaper fell from his hands. His face went from relaxed to shocked to terrified in about 2 seconds. "Eve," he breathed, "what are you doing here?" "What am I doing here? This is my house, Harold. The question is, what are they doing here?" The little boy spoke up. "Daddy, who's that lady?" Daddy. That word hit me like a physical blow. Daddy. Harold's eyes darted between me and the woman and the children. He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. No words came out. "Harold," I said slowly, trying to keep my voice steady even though I was shaking all over. "Who are these people?" The woman stepped forward. She'd composed herself a little. "I'm Diane," she said quietly, "and these are our children, Marcus and Lily. Our children." I looked at Harold, really looked at him, and in that moment I saw the truth written all over his face. Guilt, shame, fear. "How long?" My voice came out as a whisper. "How long have you been living a double life?" Harold finally found his voice. "Eve, let me explain." "How long?" 22 years, Diane said softly. He was crying now. "We've been together for 22 years. I didn't know about you, not until recently. He told me you were his business partner, that you lived in Seattle, that you two owned property together but weren't married. I only found out the truth 6 months ago. 22 years. 22 years of lies. 22 years of deception." "You have children," I said, still trying to process. "You have children with her." Harold took a step toward me. "Eve, please, don't." I held up my hand. "Don't you dare come near me." My mind was racing. 22 years. That meant he started this affair when we'd been married for 13 years. 13 years of what I thought was a happy marriage. "Where does she live?" I asked. "Where have you been keeping them?" "In an apartment," Diane said. "About 40 minutes from here. But the landlord raised the rent last month, and we couldn't afford it anymore. Harold said we could stay here for a few weeks while we figured things out. He said you were going to be gone for 3 weeks. So he'd moved his other family into our home. The home I'd been paying half the mortgage on for 33 years. My home." I looked at those children, Marcus and Lily. They looked scared, confused, and I realized with a sick feeling that they were innocent in all this. They didn't ask to be born into this mess. But Harold was guilty as sin. Part 4. The truth comes out. I sat down at the kitchen table. My legs couldn't hold me up anymore. My whole body was shaking. 35 years. 35 years of marriage, and I didn't know my husband at all. Tell me everything, I said. My voice sounded strange, distant, like it was coming from someone else. And don't lie to me, not anymore. Harold pulled out a chair and sat down. He wouldn't look at me, just stared at his hands. I met Diane at a sales conference, he began, 22 years ago. It was supposed to be a one-time thing, a mistake, but we kept in touch. And then we kept seeing each other. And then she got pregnant. You got her pregnant while married to me? Yes. And you decided to keep the baby? To have a whole other family? Diane spoke up. I didn't know he was married. Not at first. He told me he was divorced. Showed me pictures of a house he said was his bachelor pad. I believed him. By the time I found out the truth, I was already pregnant with Marcus. And Harold begged me to keep it quiet, said he'd support us. Take care of us. And he did. He's been supporting us all these years. Supporting them with my money. With the money I'd been putting into our joint account. The money I thought was going toward our future. And the second child? I looked at the little girl, Lily. She was hiding behind her mother now, scared of the angry lady who'd invaded her temporary home. That was 6 years ago, Harold said quietly. I know it was wrong. I know I should have ended it, but I couldn't. I loved both of you. I loved both families. Loved both families, like it was possible to love two families at the same time. Like love justified lying every single day for 22 years. How? I asked. How did you manage it? The logistics? The lies? The business trips, he said. Most of them were real, but some of them weren't. Sometimes I'd tell you I was going out of town for work, but I'd really go stay with Diane and the kids. And when I was traveling for real work, I'd arrange my schedule so I could see them. What about money? You've been supporting 2 households. I got promoted. My salary increased, and Diane works part-time. We managed. They managed on money that should have been ours. Money that should have gone into our retirement, our savings, our future. Did anyone else know? I asked. Your family? Your friends? He shook his head. No one. Just me. What about you? I turned to Diane. Your family knows about Harold? They think he's my boyfriend. They've never liked him because he's not around much. They don't know he's married. I only found out 6 months ago when I saw the mortgage documents. He'd left them in his car, and I was cleaning out the back seat. That's when I saw your name, both your names, on the deed to this house. That's when I knew. And you stayed with him? I couldn't keep the judgment out of my voice. Even after you found out he'd been lying to you for over 20 years? Diane's eyes filled with tears. I have 2 children with him. I've built my whole life around him. What was I supposed to do? Start over at 43 with 2 kids? I understood that fear. I really did. But it didn't make me feel any better. So you knew about me for 6 months, I said to Harold. You knew that she knew, and you still kept lying to me. I didn't know how to tell you. I knew it would destroy you. Destroy us. I kept thinking I'd figure out a way to fix it, but I never did. Fix it? My voice rose. How do you fix 22 years of betrayal? How do you fix having a whole other family? He didn't have an answer for that. Part 5. The lawyer's office. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things or have a breakdown. You know why? Because I'm 62 years old, and I've learned that anger makes you stupid. And I needed to be smart. Smarter than I'd ever been in my life. I stood up from the table. I'm leaving, I said. I'm going to a hotel. I need to think. I need to figure out what to do. Eve, please. Harold stood up. Don't follow me. Don't call me. Give me space. If you ever loved me at all, give me that much. I grabbed my suitcase from the front hall and walked out. Got in my car and drove. I didn't cry. Not yet. I was still in shock, still processing, still trying to make sense of how my life had fallen apart in the span of 15 minutes. I checked into a hotel. A nice one. Put it on my personal credit card. The one that was mine alone, not the joint account. Got a room with a king bed and a view of the city. Then I sat on the edge of that bed and finally let myself feel it. The betrayal, the hurt, the humiliation. 35 years of marriage. 35 years of what I thought was love, loyalty, partnership. All of it a lie. But I only let myself cry for an hour, because then I needed to think, to plan, to figure out how to protect myself. The next morning, I called a divorce attorney, the best one I could find. Her name was Margaret Chen, and she had a reputation for being ruthless. That's exactly what I needed. I met with her that afternoon, told her everything, showed her the photos I'd taken of Diane and the kids in my house, the proof of Harold's double life. Margaret listened carefully, taking notes. When I finished, she looked up at me with sharp eyes. Eve, I'm going to be honest with you. This is going to get messy. He's been supporting another family for 22 years with money from your joint account. That's marital asset dissipation. We can use that. What does that mean? It means he's been wasting marital assets on his affair. The court doesn't look kindly on that. You have a strong case for getting the majority of your assets in the divorce settlement. The house, the retirement accounts, everything. What about her? Diane and the kids? They're not your problem. Legally, you owe them nothing. But Harold does. He's the father of those children. He'll have to pay child support. That's between them and the court. I thought about those kids, Marcus and Lily. Scared little faces in my kitchen. They didn't ask for this. I don't want to hurt the kids, I said. But I also won't let Harold walk away from this unscathed. He won't. I'll make sure of it. Margaret smiled grimly. By the time I'm done, reply. By the time I'm done, he'll wish he'd been faithful. Part 6. The plan. Over the next 2 weeks, Margaret and I built our case. We got bank records showing the money Harold had been funneling to Diane. Thousands and thousands of dollars over 22 years. Money that came from our joint account. Money I'd contributed to. We got evidence of the apartment he'd been paying for. The car he'd bought Diane. The expenses for the children. All of it paid for with marital assets. Margaret filed for divorce on grounds of adultery and marital asset dissipation. She also filed for an emergency order to freeze our joint accounts so Harold couldn't drain them. Harold's attorney tried to fight it, tried to claim the money he'd given Diane was his to spend as he wished. But the law didn't see it that way. When you're married, marital assets belong to both spouses. You can't just give away tens of thousands of dollars to fund a secret life. The divorce process took 6 months. 6 long, painful months of depositions and court dates and legal battles. Harold tried to get me to settle, tried to convince me to split everything 50-50 and walk away. But I wasn't interested in fair. I was interested in justice. Margaret was brilliant. She painted a picture of a man who'd systematically deceived his wife for over 2 decades, who'd stolen from their joint accounts to support his affair, who'd put his mistress in their marital home while his wife was away working. The judge was a woman about my age. She listened to everything with a stern expression. When it came time for the ruling, she looked directly at Harold. Mr. Jefferson, in all my years on the bench, I've seen a lot of infidelity cases, but this one is particularly egregious. You didn't just have an affair. You built an entire separate life. You had children with another woman while married. The judge had given me immediate possession. I changed the locks the same day the ruling came through. Harold had to move in with Diane. She'd found a new apartment after I'd kicked them out, but it was small, a 2-bedroom for her and 2 kids. Now she had to squeeze Harold in too. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that things were tense. Diane was angry that Harold's child support and alimony obligations left them with barely enough to live on. Harold was angry that he'd lost everything. The perfect life he'd built, both lives, had collapsed. As for me, I was rebuilding. I sold the house. Too many memories, too much pain. I bought a smaller condo in the city, modern, clean, no ghosts. I retired from my job. I had enough money from the divorce settlement and my own savings. I didn't need to work anymore. I could finally do all the things I'd been putting off. I traveled, went to Paris, something I'd always wanted to do, went to Ghana and traced my roots, went to Italy and ate pasta and drank wine and felt free. I made new friends, joined a book club, started taking art classes, discovered I had a talent for painting. I even started dating. Nothing serious, just putting myself out there. It felt good to be seen, to be appreciated, to be chosen by someone who actually chose me. About a year after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Diane at the grocery store. We both froze when we saw each other. She looked tired, older, worn down. "Eve," she said quietly. "Diane." We stood there for a moment, neither of us knowing what to say. Finally, she spoke. "I'm sorry for everything. I know that doesn't change anything, but I am. I should have walked away when I found out he was married. But I was scared and selfish." I looked at her. This woman who'd shared my husband for 22 years. This woman who'd lived in my house, wore my bathrobe, cooked in my kitchen. "How are the kids?" I asked. "They're okay. It's been hard, but they're resilient. Marcus asks about you sometimes. He remembers that day you came home. He says you looked like a queen." That surprised me. A queen? A queen who'd been betrayed, but still a queen. I didn't know what to say to that. "Harold and I broke up," Diane continued, 3 months ago. I couldn't do it anymore. The resentment, the anger, the financial stress. He blames me for everything, says if I'd never gotten pregnant. None of this would have happened. As if I got pregnant by myself. Where is he now? Living in a studio apartment, working 2 jobs to pay alimony and child support. Miserable. I didn't feel happy about that, but I didn't feel sad either. I felt nothing. "I hope things get better for you," I told Diane. "For you and the kids." "Thank you. And Eve, for what it's worth, he never stopped talking about you. Even when he was with us, he'd talk about you. About how smart you were, how strong, how capable. I think part of him knew you were the one he should have chosen. But by then, it was too late." She walked away, pushing her cart toward the checkout. I stood there for a moment, processing what she'd said. He never stopped talking about me, even while living his double life. But it didn't matter. Not anymore. Because I'd chosen myself. And that was enough. Epilogue. The woman I became. It's been 3 years now since that day I came home early from Seattle. 3 years since my life exploded. 3 years since I discovered I'd been living half a lie. People ask me sometimes if I regret anything. If I wish I'd fought harder to save my marriage. If I miss Harold. The answer is no to all of it. I don't regret leaving. I don't wish I'd tried harder. And I don't miss the man I thought Harold was. Because that man never existed. What I do have is peace. Real peace. The kind that comes from knowing exactly who you are and what you're worth. I'm 65 years old now. I have a good life. A simple life. I wake up when I want. I paint. I read. I travel. I spend time with friends who actually value me. I even fell in love again. His name is Thomas. He's 68, a retired teacher, widowed 5 years ago. We met at an art gallery. He's kind, honest, and uncomplicated. We take things slow. No rush, no pressure. Just two people, enjoying each other's company. Sometimes I think about that woman I was 3 years ago. The woman who trusted blindly, who never questioned, who thought a quiet life was a happy life. I'm not that woman anymore. I'm stronger now, smarter, more careful with my heart. But I'm also more open, more willing to live, because I learned something important. You can survive betrayal. You can survive having your whole life turned upside down. You can survive losing everything you thought was real. And when you survive, when you rebuild, when you come out the other side, you're not the same person. You're better. So, honey, if you take anything away from my story, let it be this. Never let anyone make you feel like you're half of anything. You're whole all by yourself. And if someone treats you like you're just a part of their life while they're living a whole other life somewhere else, walk away. Take your dignity. Take your assets. Take everything that's rightfully yours. And build a life so good, so full, so completely yours, that when they realize what they lost, it's already too late. Because the best revenge isn't anger. It isn't bitterness. It's living well. It's being happy. It's showing them that you never needed them as much as they needed you. Harold lost everything. 2 families that both left him. A wife who actually loved him. A comfortable life. His reputation. His peace. And me? I gained everything. Freedom, strength, peace. A life that's completely mine. So yeah, I came home early and found my husband's secret family in my house, and it destroyed my marriage. But it saved my life. The end. Told by Eve, a woman who lost a husband but found herself.